And there's quite an interesting story we sort of discussed the other day about Nathan Rothschild and the insider information that he got that potentially could have led to the great wealth he managed to accumulate. So I'm wondering if you can talk a bit more about that.
Well, the legend is that Nathan Rothschild made a fortune after the Battle of Waterloo on the basis of information that he knew that the market didn't know. And if you Google that, you'll see there's competing arguments. Certainly the Rothschild family were very wealthy.
Yeah.
And they were a family that basically the patriarch had sent his sons to different parts of Europe, to France, where I think they originated from, to Germany and to England, and they all basically were in the banking, investing, financing business. But the Battle of Waterloo in 1812 was a watershed moment, because Napoleon had come back after his defeat before, his captivity. It reassembled the Grand French army and was off to reconquer Europe. And clearly there was a fair bit of concern in the UK, or in England as it was at that time. And the British Army had been dispatched to the continent under the Duke of Wellington, and a battle took place at the area of Waterloo, which is in Belgium, and basically the victor of that would decide the course of history going forward. If it was Napoleon, that would mean the British Army had been defeated. Maybe he would invade England, but certainly he'd be the undisputed master of Europe. So there was Waterloo on one side, and then there was the Prussians, and I think it was General Blücher on the other, and Waterloo. And at Waterloo was a very close run outcome. The markets had thought that Napoleon would win because there'd been a prior French victory in another area that sort of caused the markets to be pretty sensitive to negative news, and the markets had apparently been fallen because there was an expectation that there'd be a defeat at Waterloo as well. What happened, of course, as we know, is that the Duke of Wellington was able to defeat, because of the intervention of the Prussians at a critical part of the battle, defeat Napoleon, and the British were victorious. The news of that had to get back to the UK, and there was a question of who got there first. Apparently Wellington dispatched a rider to ride to the coast, get a boat, and then ride on to London to inform the king at that time that they were victorious. Rothschild, one legend says that he used his pigeon post to get the news first. What was more likely, I suspect, that he had a series of dispatch riders, a bit like the American Pony Express. Rather than one rider riding the distance, there'd be a succession there, and apparently he got the news 48 hours ahead of everyone else, and used that information to be able to let the market fall on the expectation of a bad result, bought at the bottom and kept buying, and of course it bought and held, and when the market went up, he was a very, very wealthy man. I suspect he was already wealthy, and this just added to his wealth. It wasn't really what you'd call insider trading as it's known today, which is of course illegal. He just had advance notice of an event and was able to use that for his own and family benefit.